Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First big culture conversation is about the end of the Voting Rights Act. This is the question as a panel of judges have made a significant decision about the act. We're going to be checking in with retired state judge Wendell Griffin to give us the latest about what is happening with this historic piece of legislation. We'll have that conversation. Also, let's talk about having self-love during the holidays. I'm going to check in with one sister, one lifestyle coach, to give us some insight on ways that we can make sure that our mind, bodies, and spirit is protected during the holidays, especially when we come around certain family members. And then later on, we talk to filmmaker Fred Taylor to talk about the screening of his film, Where is America? And at the same time, ask the question, where are we going? Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. And I'm so happy that you're able to join us as we're streaming live on a few different platforms. Let's talk about them. First, our home platform at blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you do your due diligence, folks. Go to our website today. Download the app on all of your devices, your phones, your laptops, your iPads, and whatnot. And also follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And make sure that you do one of the most important things to help us in this process is give a little something to help us fund. That's right, folks, fund the movement. We want to make sure that you are an investor, a stakeholder in this digital movement that we are embarked upon. So make sure you go to our website today at Black Star Network as we're streaming live on there. And of course, you can find all of our archive shows on there, as well as some other special content. Like today, Brother Roland talked to the Empowered Men's Group down in Memphis, Tennessee. So you don't want to miss what he had to say there. And so a lot of other activities. So go again to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, folks, make sure you check us out on Amazon News on your Fire TV. You can find us there on Amazon News, as well as on Amazon Prime Video. And you can find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, then go to News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then go to Live TV, then News. And you can certainly check us there. And we're also on Freevee, where you can find us on now under News. You can definitely check us out there. And also, you can find us on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, under News there as well. All right, folks, big shout out to my online culture crew. Folks are gathering in the chat right now, and you could do the same. What was that? There we go. Big shout out to the online culture crew. Folks are checking in from around the country and even certain parts of the world as we're streaming live on Facebook under Roland Martin. You can find us there, and you can find us on YouTube under Roland Martin. And it's on our YouTube page where you can join the chat to become an illustrious culture crew member for the day. Big shout out to all the crew. I see my sister Tiana. Hey, Tiana, good to connect with you once again. My brother Damon Blissett, Pastor, good to see you once again. Hey, brother Damon. As you say, hey, kings and queens. My sister Karen Connor out here in Los Angeles doing the great work of making sure she keep our local and state government accountable for our people. So, Karen, thank you so much. Sharon Brooks, happy Tuesday before the festivities. Come on now, Sharon. That's right, folks. Before the festivities, this is our last live show before we go into the Thanksgiving break. But God willing, we'll be right back on next week. But thank you for checking in, Sharon. Cautious Thought, thank you so much, brother. Good to connect with you. Good afternoon. ABX Girl, the ABX Girl, good to connect with you once again. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Nicole Smith, good to connect with you. You said our people are registered and we vote. Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what, Nicole, we might have something better. We gotta rev our people up, because not just about voting, we gotta save this piece of policy. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Debbie Muhammad, my peace and blessings, Sister Debbie. Thank you as always for checking in and being a part of the crew as well. And Deidre and Cindy, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm so glad y'all are joining us today. All right, let's jump into it, folks. as we talk about what is going to be the fate of that historic landmark piece of policy, the Voting Rights Act. There's a lot of attention around this, especially now that we're in the election season, and it looks like the Voting Rights Act is once again under attack. As it was made known, this is from NBC News, folks. Take a look at this, where a panel of judges in a federal appeals court said Monday that only the federal government, not citizens and groups, can sue under a key part of the Voting Rights Act, effectively gutting the legislation in 7 states, folks, 7 states. The ruling, which applies to Arkansas, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Carolina, and South Dakota, North Dakota and South Dakota, excuse me, found that only the U.S. Attorney General is able to bring a suit under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And I could not have this conversation, folks, without having someone that has the experience and the understanding and the know-how of how the legal system works, the judicial system works, the court system, and most importantly, how the political system works as it relates to the impact that this will have on our people. So I'm very happy to welcome back to the airways of the culture here on the Black Star Network, retired state judge, pastor, and author, Brother Wendell Griffin, who is joining us once again. Judge Griffin, thank you so much, sir, for being a part of the conversation. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing fine, Brother Farajii. It's good to be with you again. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We wanted to bring you in because I thought you would be the right person, the perfect person to talk about this issue, as you have worked in the state judicial system, and then also your work in politics and social justice as well, to help give us some context on this. What are we seeing here, Pastor and Judge Griffin? What is this about that this panel of judges decided that only the federal government can sue under a key part of the Voting Rights Act? And how does that take away from the effectiveness of this policy?
Thank you for asking the question. As you know, and as your audience knows, the right to vote has always been precious for our people. In the 15th Amendment, which was added to the Constitution in 1870, the right to vote was enshrined for all persons who were citizens of the United States. But of course, we know that a century of voting rights hostility happened, which required in 1965 Congress to enact the Voting Rights Act. We recall
Mm,
Selma and all those, Selma and all of those sit-ins and all the demonstrations to get the right to vote. And then we saw, after the Voting Rights Act, we saw Black folks begin voting in record numbers, and we saw Black elected officials, and we saw policies change. Well, we saw also in the ensuing years between 1965 and 2012, folks started trying to shrink the Voting Rights Act. And in 2012, Supreme Court knocked out a key portion of the Voting Rights Act, Section 4, which dealt with pre-clearance, which applied to all those jurisdictions that used to have a history of voting rights discrimination. They
hmm
knocked it out. Yesterday, Monday, November the 20th, 3 judges in the 8th Circuit in the United States, 8th Circuit in the United States, 3 judges, federal judges, 2 of them voted to uphold a decision out of Arkansas that dismissed a lawsuit brought by the Arkansas State Conference of the NAACP and the Arkansas Public Policy Panel after, in 2021, the Arkansas State Legislature did a redistricting of voting legislative districts, state districts, and did 2 things. It packed Black voters in a single district to try to shrink their voting power, and it cracked Black voters, spread them out so they
mm,
have diluting voting power. So the combined effect of that effort of packing and cracking was to dilute the likelihood of Black voters being able to elect candidates of their choice, because voting in Arkansas, as in many of the states of the former Confederacy, is racially polarized.
Mm.
And so for the first time in the history of the Voting Rights Act, a federal circuit court of appeals judge has decided that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which allows folks to challenge disproportionate impact, discriminatory impact of election decisions and redistricting decisions, was held to only apply to the Attorney General. Only Attorney General of the United States under this decision can sue. One federal judge in Arkansas decided earlier this year in January that Section 2 only allows for a lawsuit to challenge packing or cracking by the Attorney General of the United States. Now, before that, the U.S. Supreme Court had never decided that Section 2 could only be enforced by the Attorney General. It recognized that Section 2 could be enforced by individuals and by voting rights activists. Other circuit courts around the country had held that. But for the first time, this panel of judges, 2 out of 3, one judge dissented, Chief Judge Levinsky Smith, who's the chief judge of that court, dissented. But the other 2 judges, citing, and the majority opinion written by, drumroll, a former clerk of the one and only Justice Clarence Thomas.
Wow.
Yeah. That guy.
Wow.
And citing Justice Thomas's decisions, said, hey, Section 2 can only be enforced by the U.S. Attorney General. Now, here's a reality. The Attorney General does not have the resources and has never had the resources to challenge every voting rights infraction. And if you say the Attorney General is the only person who can bring these cases, then the people who do voting rights violations, for instance, in Arkansas, it was the governor, apparently Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Yeah, Mike Huckabee's daughter. Sarah Huckabee Sanders used to be Donald Trump's chief.
Right.
The Attorney General, Tim Griffin, who used to be a voting rights infraction person for Karl Rove, and the Secretary of State, John Thurston, also Republican, 3 Republicans voted to uphold this cracking and packing redistricting scheme. So that's where we are. And unless the 11 judges of the United States Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit overrules this, the only recourse left is for the NAACP and the Arkansas Public Policy Panel to take an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Let's stop it right there, Judge.
Okay.
I want to get you. I want us to take our first pause, folks. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation. I'm dedicating some time to having this discussion with our brother, Judge Wendell Griffin, and you folks, because this is so important, such an important measure. And this type of decision coming, when we're a little less than a year away from the federal election, the presidential election, will make all the difference in the world, especially in those states, those 7 states that we shared, where Black people reside. So, folks, we're going to continue the conversation on the other side. Stay with us. Join us in the conversation as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. And we would love to hear what you have to say as we talk about the possible end of the Voting Rights Act. Let's have that discussion on the other side right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
On the Black Star Network, I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We are talking about this latest blow to the Voting Rights Act, how a panel of judges on the federal appeals court yesterday said that the federal government, i.e. attorney generals across the country, are the only ones that can sue under a key part of the Voting Rights Act. And many people are concerned that this only can be done to bring a suit under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Now, according to the report, the vast majority of the Voting Rights Act claims are brought by private citizens and civil rights groups who oftentimes have to take on the financial burden of litigation. The Department of Justice, with limited staff and resources, typically brings just a small fraction of the cases fought nationally. And so we've been talking about this with with retired state judge, pastor, and author, Brother Wendell Griffin, to give us some insight as to what is happening at this moment and how will this play out as we get closer to the federal election. Judge Griffin, many people are asking the question, well, a couple of things as our crew are checking in from around the country. First and foremost, Janelle, our sister, she said there is a huge contingent on the right that believes that voting rights are not enshrined for every citizen. In fact, they prefer if only a select few were allowed to vote. And you just laid out what this whole strategy of packing and cracking is all about, right? Bringing people together, then breaking us apart. Primarily, this happens of this redistribution or this packing and cracking scheme happens in areas where Black folks are the most populous, right? Yeah. So you're talking about breaking up the potential power of Black folks, Black neighborhoods, Black communities, and spreading them out, and then essentially diluting those groups to not be able to put representatives that look like our people into positions of power in the political space and also in the judicial space. Now, we see that, as to point Janelle out, that this is a thing that we primarily see it, and I'm saying historically, this has come more from the GOP side than the Democratic side. Is that correct?
Yeah. For years, the Republicans have been working, Brother Farajii, to try to keep Black and now Latino voters from the polls because they haven't been able to convince us to follow their policies. You understand? If
Right.
they cannot win us over to their politics, they want to keep us from the polls. And they can't get us to their politics because they've been too hateful too long. Folks
Yeah.
understand this. And folks, so since Reagan came in 1980, the folks who used to be the white sheet Democrats converted over to the dressed up Republicans and became basically the new KKK to keep Black and Latino voters from the polls. Understand what happened. That voting power is what put Bill Clinton in the White House in 1992 over George H.W. Bush. It is what put Barack Obama in the White House in 2008. It is the same thing that the Supreme Court wanted to disqualify in 2000 because that's why they said stop counting the votes in Florida. And what votes did they want to stop counting? The ones out of Miami-Dade. Who's in Miami-Dade? Disproportionately Black and Hispanic voters. And so they thought that if Miami-Dade voters came in, Al Gore would get Florida. Therefore, Al Gore would be the president as opposed to George W. Bush. Hello? And this is what happened, so that as the 2010, every 10 years they have a census.
Right.
And after every census, every state legislature has to redistrict. And what happened after 2020? State legislatures across the country redistricted. In Arkansas, the Arkansas legislature redrew all their district lines and did this packing and cracking game to shrink Black voters in some areas and to crack Black voters in other areas.
That's wild.
Pulaski County. I live in Pulaski County, in the center of the state. That's where Little Rock is, Farajii. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Farajii County was divided into three. The legislature voted to break Pulaski County into 3 congressional districts. 3 congressional districts. How? Why? Because that keeps Black voters from voting strongly to express our votes. The one reason they did that is to protect a Republican congressman named French Hill, who never wins Pulaski County because Black voters know him too well. He's from Little Rock. And so they split up Black voters. By how to do it? They cracked. They took Black voters from Pulaski County and spread them into other areas, and then they brought in 25,000 white voters from a predominantly white county in north central Arkansas and put them in the congressional district for Little Rock, for Pulaski County. That's how packing and cracking works.
And let me ask you this, and Judge, that's the thing, and we're seeing this. We know the playbook, we know the strategy, and many folks in the chat and across this country are asking the question, like Karen Connor did. She said, per the Civil Rights Act of 1964, voting rights are included. Can a lawsuit be filed to overturn any attack on voting rights as a violation of civil rights? Folks are asking, can we sue the judges? And we know lawsuits are coming. But how far will a lawsuit go in this particular case?
We cannot sue the judges because the judges have what's called judicial immunity. Judges who make decisions are immune from being sued because of decisions they make. And that makes good sense. I mean, you don't want judges scared to make tough, right decisions because they're scared of lawsuits. That makes good sense. On the other hand, you don't want to discourage people from coming to court. You don't want to block the folks from the courts who have legitimate grievances. You want them to be able to sue. As you mentioned in your opening, there are too many violations for the Attorney General to bring them all. Most of the voting rights violations have been brought by private groups of people like the NAACP or the Legal Defense Fund or the ACLU. These groups, these advocacy groups, bring these lawsuits. Why? Because they are terribly expensive to bring. You got to have experts on top of experts. You got to do all kinds of discovery and pleadings. These kinds of lawsuits are not for the faint-hearted. And you have to have a specialized team of lawyers who know what the law is in this area. This isn't something that anybody fresh out of law school can pick up a case book on, run over to the courthouse and federal court and file a lawsuit and win, because the law is much too difficult. The law is much too complicated. And the process of putting the case together is much too complicated, much too involved.
So Judge Griffin, who would be a good advocate of this? Who would Black residents in these 7 states run to get some recourse and some justice in this action?
The people who filed the lawsuit in this case were the Arkansas State Conference of the NAACP, because the NAACP has long had a relationship with the Legal Defense Fund, Thurgood Marshall's group that was involved in Brown versus Board of Education. Wiley Branton, who was from Arkansas, did a lot of this work. This is the kind of work that Lonnie Guinier, Sister Lonnie Guinier, she's now passed on.
I remember Sister Lonnie Guinier. Yes, sir.
Wonderful sister who did this kind of work in Arkansas and other states. And that kind of work laid the groundwork for so much of our voting rights. Understand that the handwriting is on the wall. This United States, or the so-called United States, is becoming more and more brown, and the voters are becoming more and more progressive. And the only way that the hateful faithful, I call them that, is the title of my next book, the hateful faithful can hold on to their power, the only way the white supremacists can hold on their power is not because they have enough more voters. They've got to control the legislative process. Why? Because the state legislatures draw up the districts, and then they elect the Congress people. Why does that work? Because the Electoral College decides who the president is. Notice, remember something now. We think that our individual votes matter, but please remember that Donald Trump did not win the most votes in 2016. Hillary Clinton did. But Donald Trump got the most Electoral College votes. Why? Because every state gets Electoral College votes based upon how that state's voters vote. And so Arkansas, being Republican, all 6 of our Electoral College votes went to Donald Trump. However, in those states where there were more Democratic voters, those voters go to the Democratic voter. The problem is when it's real tight, the Electoral College votes has to be decided by the House of Representatives. That's what Donald Trump was trying to get in 2021. He was trying to force the election into the House of Representatives, where the House of Representatives, led by now Mike Johnson, who's a fascist from southern Louisiana, Baton Rouge, is going to be running stuff. You don't want to have your vote canceled by the haters in the House of Representatives that don't want Black and brown folks to vote at all.
That's facts. That's facts. Judge, we're going to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation on the other side, folks. We're talking about the latest attack against the Voting Rights Act. Join the conversation by jumping into the chat as we're streaming on Roland Martin's YouTube page, and let us know what your take is about this. I'm going to share what folks are already posted in the chat, and for folks, I don't want you to miss being a part of the conversation. And of course, stay tuned. We still got a lot more with Judge Griffin right on the other side here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now. We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been talking to retired State Judge Wendell Griffin, as he's been giving us some insight into this latest decision around the Voting Rights Act and how yesterday a major decision was rendered by a panel of judges, which said that only attorney generals, only the federal government can sue anyone in violation of the act. And this is based upon Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And this is causing a lot of controversy, especially in 7 states, folks, 7 states where our people are. And Judge Griffin has been breaking it down as he is in the state of Arkansas. This is the state that kicked this whole situation off. But the other states that we're looking at for this situation is North Dakota, South Dakota. You're talking about those states where our people are most populous, and through the ongoing scheme of cracking and packing of redistricting and gerrymandering happening, is causing a lot of issues. Now, here's the thing, Judge Griffin, that I wanted to kind of get your take on, because one of our watchers, and Peter Starnes, bring up something that I think that needs to be said, but we act as if it's not a major problem. But he said the problem in this country has become that judges are now activists instead of being strictly judicial independent representatives. That we're
That's
seeing it more and more, right? Right. Like you mentioned, the former clerk of Clarence Thomas is one of the panel judges that helped to render this decision. And so we're in a time now where judges who are supposed to be unbiased, who are supposed to just look at the facts, look at the law, are now, because of their political affiliations, are now making decisions based on what's good for their political party instead of what's good for the law, is good as what's good for the people. How do we break that up?
Well, I have heard folks make the judicial activism charge on both sides. They were accusing the Thurgood Marshall, William Brennan, Earl Warren Court of being judicial activists when they were going pro-civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went for Roe versus Wade, they accused them of being judicial activists, legislating from the bench. That's what they called it. And now when the voters are doing the same kind of decision making to enshrine laws, to protect laws, because remember, the Voting Rights Act was passed by Congress. That wasn't judges just doing that. The Voting Rights Act was passed by Congress. Section 2 was added to the Voting Rights Act by act of Congress. And for decades, Congress, knowing that federal judges were saying that there was a private right of action, that individuals could bring lawsuits for violation of the Voting Rights Act, not being attorney generals, but individuals and groups like the NAACP could bring those lawsuits. Congress didn't change that. Now we have these Reagan, Bush, Federalist Society judges. Let's just call things what they are. One of the big problems is we have a group of judges who came in beginning in the 1980s under Reagan. That's what Clarence Thomas came in. Was George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, brought in Clarence Thomas after Thurgood Marshall retired. And Clarence Thomas has been waiting since 1993. Hello. To do what this kind of lawsuit does.
Mm.
And he gets his law clerks now become federal judges, and they are doing his dirt. And so that's the activism we see here. Congress hasn't changed the Voting Rights Act. The Supreme Court, 5 judges on the Supreme Court have written decisions saying, hey, there is a private right of action under Section 2. But one federal judge in Arkansas, who was a Trump appointee in 2023, in January 2023, ruled that even though there was no cases saying that there was no federal right of action, even though the Supreme Court had said there is a private right of action, he decided on his own, recognized that he was just going to dismiss the lawsuit because he said there's no private right of action, so you can't even sue because you're not the Attorney General. And then when the NAACP and the Public Policy Panel appealed to the 8th Circuit, which covers, as you mentioned, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska, Missouri, Arkansas. Think about it. Arkansas, you got the Arkansas Delta and Central Arkansas, large numbers of black voters. Missouri, you got St. Louis on one side to the east and Kansas City on the other side to the west. Large numbers of black voters. Nebraska, you got Omaha. Large numbers of black voters. Minnesota, you got Minneapolis. which has been a stronghold for Democratic and black voters, black and brown voters there. You got a strong contingent of Somali and African voters in Minneapolis. This is an attack on the voting rights of voters in those states because those black voters' votes are being diluted by this packing and cracking situation.
So as we look forward, now that this decision has been made in these 7 states that you laid out, Judge, and now we're moving forward. Now we got to look to November. What has to be done at this point? What can be done? Because now, and not just what has to be done and what can be done, but should we be concerned that other states might fall into the same category as these first 7 have?
Oh, yeah. Understand that this same thing was tried in South Carolina. And in South Carolina, it was done, but that was kicked back. The appeals court in South Carolina from that area didn't go along with this. But the 8th Circuit, this panel, understand these circuit courts of appeals began hearing these appeals in 3-judge panels. 2 of the 3 ruled that there is no private action under Section 2. A third, the chief judge, Judge Levinsky Smith, ruled that there is. Now what's going to happen is the NAACP and the public policy panel will probably appeal the decision, or actually it's a petition for review. They'll petition the entire 8th Circuit, all 11 judges, to hear this. Around the rest of the country, they're going to be watching what's happening because obviously what's going to happen is if this decision holds up, it's going to have to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. And you see what the U.S. Supreme Court is composed of.
That's crazy.
Clarence Thomas is now driving the U.S. Supreme Court. He is the most senior member of the U.S. Supreme Court.
And wouldn't it be a conflict of interest for him?
No.
Or no?
It wouldn't be a conflict of interest for him because he does not have an interest, a personal interest in this lawsuit, even though his former law clerk is decided this case this way. That doesn't create the conflict of interest. So it wouldn't be a conflict of interest for him.
Wow. So we might be looking at a situation here, Judge, where he might be the deciding factor on whether this Voting Rights Act will, as it stands right now, will continue.
I am very much concerned that the future of voting rights in this country, at least for the rest of my lifetime, I'm 71 years old, will lie in the mind and in the heart of Clarence Thomas. We have seen for the last almost 40 years, or 30 years, what Clarence Thomas's view is of the law. Basically, he benefited from affirmative action and then voted to gut it. He benefited from voting rights and then voted in 2012 to tear down another section of the Voting Rights Act. So I don't have any confidence that Justice Clarence Thomas in 2023 is going to be a help for voting rights. If anything, we need to be worried about the future of voting rights under a Supreme Court that is led by Clarence Thomas and his ilk.
Wow. Let me just take a couple of quick comments, and then we're gonna take a quick pause to just switch gears a little bit here. Folks have been checking in all around the country. Carmen Collins, you said, so what is our strategy going forward? Play offense. Would you agree with that strategy that we just gotta put our foot on the gas at this point, Judge, right?
We've got to vote like crazy. There has never been a time when black voters have been encouraged to go to the polls. We've had to go to the polls at the threat of our lives. Medgar Evers was murdered because he was pursuing voting rights. We know about Emmett Till. Emmett Till's murder happened in 1955 in Mississippi after white folks killed 2 other black folks who were actively working to register people to vote. And so we've always had to fight to keep our voting rights alive. We're going to have to fight even harder. We're going to have to resist the temptation to say, my vote doesn't matter. Obviously, if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't work so hard to keep you from voting. Nobody fouled somebody who can't shoot. They fouled you because you can play. And they don't want you to score. If they are fouling you, that proves that your vote matters. If they're trying to keep you from voting, your vote matters. And when you say your vote doesn't matter, it means I don't even want to get on the court to run the risk of being fouled. You can't shoot a free throw if you don't get on the court.
Wow. There it is. I'm going to just leave it right there. My big brother, Judge Wendell Griffin, he's a retired state judge. He's pastor and he's author of the book Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith. We've had him on the show, but we have to keep bringing him back because I feel like, Judge Griffin, there's going to be so many new developments. We know the lawsuits are going to be coming, but more importantly, the conversations about our engagement, our political engagement is going to continue to heat up. And with being almost, less than a year away from the election, anything can happen. And we really do have to Carmen's point, we kind of stop being on the defense. We got to play on the offense. We got to start, throwing some jabs, throwing some punches, getting involved as much as we can, because as Carmen also said, she said, this vote is existential.
Yep.
This election season is critical.
Yeah.
And we have a lot on the table. We have so much to consider. And I think we're going to need as many guides like yourself and many others to walk us and help us to navigate through this. And I'm talking about people, Pastor, that know the system and then know the implications of these decisions, and to be able to break it down into smaller pieces so we can understand how this situation plays out. And then at the same time, encouraging the next generation.
Yeah.
You got to encourage the next generation. I was just reading a piece over the weekend, and it was talking about, the next generation of young black voters. Now, we've been talking about young black voters walking away from Biden. They're talking about 20 to 22% might be thinking about voting for Trump. But there's a significant portion of the 23% are actually going to be young black voters.
That's right.
Voters, first time voters.
Right. And they've got to understand, hey, they've got more than 2 options, but they've got to remember you cannot refuse to play ball just because you don't like the referee. I mean, you cannot win the game by cussing about the referee. You got to get in the game and play. You got to take your shot and play. You may get fouled, but you got to take your shot. And you cannot take a shot if you refuse to get in the game. I want to thank you, Brother Farajii, because you are making it plain. You are reminding us that we have to stay engaged. I agree. The sister's right. We got to play offense. And part of playing offense is getting on the field and running the ball, even if you're going to be hit. You're going to be tackled.
Yeah. Come on. That's what it is. Our dear beloved retired state judge, our pastor, our author, Brother Wendell Griffin. Thank you so much, Pastor, for your time today. And certainly we will reconnect with you soon. God bless you, brother. And have a safe holiday with you and your family, brother.
Hey, same to you, brother. Thanks for coming. Let me come on.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. Let's talking about our mental health and wellness over the holidays, how to show some self-love to yourself, especially if you're around family members that gives you the anxieties. You're having these very sensitive conversations around the dinner table. we're going to be checking in with one sister to help us to understand how we can get through the holidays and not lose our peace in the process. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome forward. Welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Man, oh man. If you missed the first part of the first half of the show, folks, I would highly encourage you to go back to it as we on the replay, be a part of Team Replay as we talk to former state judge, retired state judge, and pastor and author, Brother Wendell Griffin, breaking it down, talking to us about the latest decision up against the Voting Rights Act and the implications of this decision. You do not want to miss it. A fantastic discussion with the judge, with the pastor about how this thing is going to play out, the impact that it will make, and why it is so important for us to become politically engaged. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Go back to blackstarnetwork.com to be a part of Team Replay and to see that conversation and have something to talk about over the dinner table. Yes, there's going to be sports and other family affairs, but we'd have to use those opportunities for us when we coming in together as a family to have different conversations about getting our people involved. So make sure you throw that out there, be a part of the conversation, say, look, this is what's happening. Can we get involved? But as you're having these conversations, there's a way to have these conversations because a lot of these discussions are highly sensitive, especially when you have individuals who may not be as politically conscious as you may be, or individuals who know as much as you know about what's going on around them in the world, or with with family members that you may or may not like. How do you navigate through it all and still have a quote unquote joyful spirit as we kick off the holiday season for 2023? And this is the work that my next guest is all about doing is how to find our peace. How do we have self-love for the holidays? And so I'm so happy to welcome coach and the author of Women on Fire, Sister Trinette Collier. Trinette, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very excited about this conversation because I know that the work that you do is not just about like, hey, let's just put on a smile and sit down and act as if nothing is wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think, and you know what? And just very quickly, it's interesting. I've read articles where people, the way that we celebrate holidays, and more importantly, the way that we gather together as a family,
yeah,
it's different. Now, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, Thanksgiving was a major affair. Christmas time is a major affair. You have all of the cousins and everybody come in and all of that.
Yeah.
Over these past 20 to 30 years, that has changed. More people are opting for smaller gatherings. They are being very particular about who they invite to the table.
Yes.
And the discussions are a little bit less heated. So talk to us, Sister Trinette, about this shift of what we're seeing in our relationships, especially during the holidays.
Listen, they might as well call me the transparent coach.
Okay.
Because I like to keep it real, 100, because what has happened over time, we've allowed these behaviors to take place during especially holiday season because it's family time, it's gathering, or you're supposed to be happy and you're supposed to be excited about seeing your family, your loved ones. But the truth of the matter, people have been going through life, right? Life has been lifing for a lot of us, especially coming out of the pandemic. That was a huge adjustment for a lot of us. So mentally, you start thinking about some things like, you're now thinking like, you know what? I really like, I don't have to be around a lot of people, or I don't have to do these things that's been a trigger for me for so long. So me as a self-love coach, self-love again is you're taking priority of self, and that includes mental, right? Our mental and our spiritual, our physical being, but overall, like that, the overall self, you're taking care of yourself. It's the appreciation of one's own worth. And sometimes, and we lose that because we don't really think about that.
And you know what, Sister Trinette, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I'm so happy that you are joining us today because my big question, let me just do the two-shot really quick, guys. Thank you. My question will be when we come forward, I want us to think about this. How do you have self-love while maintaining a sense of relationship with others? Because it can come across as being very selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or some people might say, "Oh, very uppity." Oh,
Yeah.
now you are you. Oh, now you want to protect your peace now,
Right.
and
Right. Like it's something new, right?
now you want some. Oh, I gotta make sure my energy is manifesting as. Oh, you on X? Right.
Right.
You know how families would be like, but just last year you were the ones dropping jewels about everybody in the family. Now you want to protect your peace. Oh, we toxic now.
Right.
I want to have a conversation about that because that's going to be a new place for a lot of people. So we're going to have that discussion on the other side with our Sister Trinette Collier, self-love coach, author of the book Women on Fire. And of course, if you stay with us, we're going to get a whole lot more in this second half of the culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness
and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by self-love coach and author of the book, Women on Fire, my sister, Trinette Collier, talking about how we can have self-love during the holiday season. And this can be a moment, Sister Trinette. This can be a very, like Thanksgiving can be a very anxious-filled gathering for some folks, right?
Yeah.
My producers behind the scenes say that a lot of millennials are in the spaces like, nope, we staying home. I'm not even engaging. Y'all are toxic as AF. Y'all can keep that, right? Y'all can keep it. Like I'm gonna just grab me a plate and then I'm hitting out very early. I'm not sitting around here talking about old family stuff.
Yeah.
When y'all not talking about it. But how do we do that? Like, how do you talking about self-love? And I mean, I know we kind of make fun of it a little bit, but like protecting your peace, if given that this is family.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm part of Gen X. So
okay.
So I agree. It has been, we created that culture over time where we get with with family during the holidays, and we feel like it's time to air out the dirty laundry on everybody, right? And we forget.
And is that a good idea? Is that a good idea though?
No, it's in my opinion and over in the experience. One thing about me as a coach, I've experienced, I am one of those coaches that actually went through some things. And so in my experience, in my opinion, no, it is not the time. Because again, holiday season for a lot of families could mean just that it's joyful, it's supposed to be cheerful. And what happens is, I believe that this is the time where we can start setting new traditions and say, hey, let's start doing some some mid-year gatherings, if it's by Zoom or if we're all in the same city. Let's meet up and start talking about some things that may be bothering us over time, because families do have some things that needs to be aired out, and it can lead to, and we have to be careful with that because we don't know, the secrets, and it may not be any secrets. It may just be like, I ain't really like that cousin because she was all bougie. Why are you bougie? Like, what's going on? That type of deal. It doesn't always have to be anything bad, but I
Right.
think the conversations need to start taking place between the generations, because you're right. The millennials and the younger generations are like, you know what? I ain't got time to hear what Uncle Johnny them used to do or what they did or whatever, So
Right.
it's time for those conversations.
What is the best metric to determine if someone is toxic?
Oh,
No,
look, I got a whole.
no. Hey, Trinette, we keep it 100. The folks that watch this show, they want to keep it 100. Because some of us, look, with real, and I heard this, and I read an article one time. It was talking about how certain psychology terms and language has now become a part of the popular culture. It's part of mainstream, and everybody, toxicity, being toxic. This is something that people are just throwing out there, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I have a disagreement with you. You toxic.
Right.
Oh. We don't think the same, so therefore you toxic.
Yeah.
So what is the metric that you recommend as a self-love coach? How do you define a person being toxic?
So that's a good point, because everything is toxic. If you, like you said, if you disagree, I like the Raiders, all that. So you just, and then it's one conversation after another. You like, I just said I like the Raiders. What? But I think we have to come to an agreement what toxicity is. What the definition is. But if somebody is coming to your family functions every year, already drunk and ready to pop off at the mouth, or ready to air out dirty laundry, or just gossiping, that's toxic, because you're already coming in with a motive to stir up trouble.
Okay.
Some of those family members who can't wait till everybody gets in the living room and you just can't wait to be like, boom, I got some information, right? That's
right.
Toxicity. Or if you are just really ready to say, you know what, I'm miserable, but I want everybody else to feel what I'm feeling right now. And sometimes that comes out in your behaviors throughout the gathering. So those are toxic, like, habits, behaviors.
Right.
And so
right.
you want to be cognizant of that, because sometimes when Aunt Lulu done had a little too much and when she gonna start talking, right? So you kind of just kind of monitor her for a minute, but
no, I was just and I'm thinking about that, and I'm trying to figure out, because there is that one side where you can be toxic.
Yeah.
But then there's this fine line. I feel like there's a fine line, and I might be wrong on this, Trinette.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line where you're being toxic and versus the line of, we need to talk about this. There are some very serious issues that we can no longer hold inside or not discuss.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fine line. Like, you can be toxic about stirring up stuff, but if somebody's saying, hey, look, Uncle so-and-so is knowing that Uncle so-and-so or Aunt so-and-so is doing certain things to children or something like that, when it gets to like a very serious topic, some people say, no, that's toxic. Don't talk about that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But that's not, that's cleaning house.
Right. And that's the reality. I think that that does, it blur the lines, because sometimes there is a family member that really needs to get this out, right? And so they are exuberant, like the different behaviors such as drinking or whatnot, because now they're forced to fellowship every year. And this person that is this family member that's sitting next to them in the living room or at the dinner table is a person that violated me, but everybody else is happy and I'm miserable, I'm hurt. And so I don't know how to deal with this. And this is where I say, I suggest to families find that person in the family that you can trust. There has to be at least one or two people that you can trust, that you can say, listen, I'm hurting, and I need to share some things, some
Mm-hmm.
things happened to me. And either you're taking a risk. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations that you start taking a risk. However, I'm a firm believer that God will place somebody in your life where you can be comfortable enough to share, because it's not
That's
fair.
facts. That's
It's
facts.
not fair that you have
That's
to
facts.
sit at these, come together at these gatherings, and somebody has violated you, and everybody has hushed you up over the years, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not fair. So we do have to, the buzzwords are toxic and safe space, but are we really creating safe spaces? So there's
Mm.
always that person in the family that can give you that safe space. I am the person in our family that is a safe haven.
I was
Um,
about to say. I was
yeah,
about to say. I was like, Trinette, if you ain't that safe space with somebody, I don't know what to say about your family.
yeah,
You
and
are you are a therapist, you're a coach, you talk about this stuff, and you like, but somebody, no, sister, you carry that crown. You
yeah,
got to carry that crown. Yeah.
I used to be afraid of that because it comes with a lot of
Mm.
responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Being a coach, a certified relationship coach, it comes with responsibility. That's why I'm so adamant about when people say they're coaches and they don't have credentials or experience behind it. I get upset because God placed me in a position where I am a safe person. And when what that looks like is somebody where you can come and talk to me and it is confidential, and I'm going to give you a solution. We're going to work through this thing together, because again, holiday season is a trigger. It can be a trigger. You're dealing with grief. You're dealing with past hurts, that you're dealing with so many emotions, and you're trying to put on this brave face for everyone else. You're trying to be brave for your family, and sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. So you're at the dinner table ready to throw a roll at Uncle such and such, because you're ticked off, because nobody has taken the time to say what's wrong.
So no, and I agree with that. So you're saying, and this is, I think, I don't want us to miss this point, to have a person, designate a person to serve as this kind of like, and I don't know
Yeah,
what type of term you want to use, but somebody that works in your role where they're like, look, to be that safe space, they're
yeah,
responsible for creating a safe space. And I think everyone has that type of person in our
yeah,
family that's respected by everybody,
yeah,
that's fair and just in their assessment of family affairs. So to be that safe space, and it might be one of us, it might be
yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But we do have to take a role of that. Now,
yeah.
here's something else. This is one of our other culture crew members, the AVX girl, put out. She said, this is why Friendsgiving is popular. You can be with like-minded people.
Mm,
So now we're in a time, and I know you know this, Sister Trinette,
yeah,
that people are creating their families instead
yeah,
of just deciding to tolerate the ones that were
yeah,
appointed to them by God.
yeah. Right.
How do you feel about that? Like when we are, and then we see a lot of younger folks, millennials, Gen Xers,
Yeah,
and yourselves. We're like, you know what? I love my family. I'm gonna hold them at a distance, but my
yeah.
real family are those I can really. What's your take on that? On creating the family and having like a friendsgiving?
You know what? It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I do suggest that, whatever beef you have with your family, let it be something. Sometimes we can create problems, and sometimes we are the
Mm,
problem. If you're
mm,
having beef with everybody in your family, it's something, I won't say wrong with you, but it's time for you to take a deeper look at, because you can't have beef with everybody in your family. So that means there's a conversation that needs to be had. And so if you go out and you go create a whole new family, who's to say that you're not going to have issues with those people? And
ooh,
so I really feel like you should create a balance, because let's be truthful, I have, it's a bunch of cousins, right? And sometimes you don't know all of your cousins, or your friends that you grew up with are closer to you than your family, your actual family members. And it's okay. But I do say create a balance. Don't just blame your entire family for issues. Now, granted, there may have been a situation where your entire family is demonic or something of that statue, but I haven't met anybody like that. Like some of the clients that I have, they've had issues with one or two people out of their family, and that one person or so has created that toxicity for the family, so they break off and create their own. But I think it's a great idea, just to branch out, because you never know what it's going to do for the other people that come together that may not have a family at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Cindy D, you said, I am the rock of my family and I take on that mantle proudly. That's awesome, Cindy, because and sometimes, and I don't want to kind of sound misogynistic or anything like that, but we often believe that it's the woman's role to take on that. But brothers and the men in the family can step up too.
Yeah.
I know that my mother, when she was alive, she was the matriarch. She was the one that kind of brought everyone together, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm finding that it's not about whether you're male or female. It's about the energy and the spirit that you bring to the family.
Right, exactly. And you're so right about that. I lost both of my parents. So they were, now my sister, she does the cooking and bringing us together, but now we're in different cities, so we have to find creative routines and creative ways to unite and so forth. And we also have an understanding wherever we are, we can still celebrate with other friends, as long as we're celebrating life and making that moment count, making memories with other people, because again, you never know what it's going to do for other people. There are a lot of people who don't have genuinely don't have families due to for whatever reason. So gathering with a group of like-minded, spirit-filled people, that can do wonders for people.
We got about 30 seconds. You got any other recommendations little nuggets of wisdom that we can hold on to, Trinette, as we embark upon this Thanksgiving holiday?
I just say know your triggers, and it's okay to say, listen, I can't do it this year. It's okay. Like, you have to be really okay with yourself. That's part of that self-love journey. And know your triggers. If you know that certain people are going to be at the family house and whatnot, and it's just going to irritate your spirit, go with your spirit and say, you know what, or set a time limit and be okay with your decision. If it means really keeping your peace, don't just let it be a buzzword, but take action and really protect your peace. And then create moments. Family, some of it is all we have, but create the joyous moments that you have with your loved ones.
I think that's some great advice. And more importantly, Sister Trinette, I feel, as I'm listening to you, I feel like these gatherings can be, what is the best word to say? They could be like a redemption opportunity. They can help us to kind of purify some of these things. Like, if we have the will to change, and some of us may be toxic, right? So like you mentioned earlier, so if we have the will to have a different dynamic or have a different culture in the family, it's going to take somebody to say, you know what, enough is enough. We're going to try to reboot. Because some of these issues that we have with family members, I mean, it's some small things that happened 25, 30 years ago. And you remember in high school and I never forgave you for that. And then
the last piece of cornbread,
you ate the last piece of cornbread. You didn't return that text message in time. Like, I've had these same issues with family members. It's like, man, you ain't called me back. And I held on to that. And it sometimes just takes us to say, I'm sorry.
Right, exactly.
You know what? I'm sorry. Let's get past this. I'm a grown ass man at this point, dog.
Right. Really, when you like, I'm sorry for taking the last piece of cornbread. I am so sorry.
Wait a minute, no, I'm not. Not when it comes to cornbread. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You should have been there, bro.
See?
You should have been there. Sorry, but not sorry. Cue Beyonce.
See?
Should have got it.
See, you that cousin, right? You
that guy. I'm that guy. Who ate the last pot? Me, bro. And pass me the whipped cream too. Sister Trinette, I appreciate you. You have a website. Talk to us. How can people get more information about the work you're doing?
Yes, you can visit my website at www.IamTrinetteLcollier.com. com. You can go on there, book a discovery call. And listen, I am all about healing and making sure that you move forward in your relationships and build a healthy relationship with not only yourself, but with others around you. So please connect with me, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Trinette L. Collier.
There it is, my sister Trinette. Sister Trinette, love the energy, love the insight. Got to bring you back on and to
Yes.
have more conversations about what's going on within our relationships. And I'm certainly talking about your book, Women on Fire. I would
Yeah.
love to get some more details about that. So we'll certainly do our part to bring you back on and support you in your work. But I thank you so much for being with us today and being so good for the culture, sister. And have a
Thank
great Thanksgiving.
you too. Have fun. Have
Oh,
fun.
absolutely. Absolutely. I will have fun because nobody's going to touch this pie or cornbread. Because once I cook that apple pie, that's mine, dog. Like I'm.
You know what?
Thank you, Sister Jeanette. Truly appreciate you.
Thank
All right,
you.
folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk to filmmaker Mr. Frederick Taylor about his film, Where is America? A major question that has yet to be truly answered. And we're going to have him talk to us about this film and, more importantly, the impact he's looking to make. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Man, oh man, fantastic day we're having. And this final conversation will fall right into that tradition, folks. We want to end today's show talking about a question that I think is just really prevalent on all of our minds, which is where we are in this country. Where is America? A big, big question that's being posed, not just within the culture, but in every space of life here in this country. We are asking this question: what is really going on? Where are we going? Where is America? And this is the question that serves as the thesis of the upcoming film, the upcoming independent film that was made by brother Frederick Taylor, as he's going to be talking about this film, Where is America, that is going to have its screening in, I believe, in New York City here. And let me just show you the movie poster where brother Frederick is looking at this. This is the movie poster. Where is America the Beautiful? Mm. Where is she? Where is she? Let's bring on our brother Frederick Taylor, who's the filmmaker, writer, and speaker. Brother Frederick, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network, dear brother. How are you this afternoon?
Very well, my friend. As always, it is a pleasure to be here and to be a part of something that is a part of history as well. You guys are in a very unique position here that we will one day look back on the Black Star Network and say they were there first. Because if you
know what? I thought
question,
about that. I appreciate that, because I think about that. Sometimes we get caught up, and I think it's the culture right now, brother Frederick, that everybody wants to have that instant gratification, that instant validation. Mm-hmm. And when you think about art as a creative like yourself, when you're talking about, sometimes the pieces that you put out, the content that you put out, it just becomes a seed, but it doesn't fully germinate until years down the road.
Absolutely. That's who we are as a people. When we talk about our many millennia history as a people, and we start talking about, Timbuktu all the way to 1619, and from 1619 to 1865, from 1865 to 1964, from 64 to now. That is how we survive. And for those of us that believe that we are the gestation point of all humankind, we are patient people, and we play long ball, and we see the bigger picture, and we understand the value of who we are as people with generations to come.
Absolutely.
This is sort of being co-opted by Western capitalistic corporate culture that's turned us into these consumers that want our existence to be microwavable. I mean, for lack of a better way to say it, I mean, we've been poisoned a little bit. And, you guys are a part of the anecdote, the cure for
all praises due. All praises due. Hey, and you're absolutely right. Now let's talk a little bit about this film. You're having your screening.
Yes.
So let's first give the details of when and where this screening is going to happen for Where is America the Beautiful.
It's going to be a part of a film festival that is in New York. It's already previously screened in Los Angeles with the Dances with Films Film Festival, which has been around for over 20 years. It was a group of individuals from New Line Cinema who started it. So it's a very robust, renowned festival that really tries to capture the essence of global diversity. And one of the voices that they're interested in is those of people of African descent and the African diaspora as well. And so I'm one of those people. I've been allowed the privilege of screening in LA, and now I'm screening in New York as well. And that's going to be on December 3rd at the Dances with Films Film Festival in Manhattan.
That's awesome, and congratulations on that, big brother Frederick. That's dope right there. That's dope right there. Talk to us a little bit about this guiding question: where is America the Beautiful? What made you take on such a big question in this film?
Well, because I think that filmmakers, and this is something that, I'm sure you've gotten into on your show, and not only with filmmakers, but with writers and music artists and things like that, we're not making the What's Going On albums anymore. We're not making the kind of blue jazz sonnets that we used to as well. We keep making more and more art that reflects our culture in these small, tiny, compartmentalized windows so that they are digestible for the consumer base or the consumer market. And in many instances outside of our own central culture as well. We kind of lost our mojo a little bit. Like when you see Steph Curry and all of a sudden he's not making threes, you're like, wait a minute, what's wrong?
Right.
Like, what's up with that? And so
Right.
I kind of feel that way right now about a certain amount of Black art that's out there that is getting exposure, that's not getting enough exposure, I should say, because there's a lot of Black art that gets exposure, but once again, it's not asking the bigger question, the greater questions. We're always dealing in the here and now, like what I'm going to do on Friday night, or what club I'm going to, or who I'm kicking it with, or whatever. But what are some of the bigger sweeping questions about who we are as a society? Because people forget the 21st century, since 2000, is the first century in the history of this country where we as Black people are on a reasonable level of footing moving forward. Because 1923 wasn't so fun to be Black. And 1823, you can piece that one together for yourself,
Right.
1723, and then we get back to 1619. Hey, we are just getting out of the blocks now. And when you put it within that context, you have to ask the bigger questions. Where is America the Beautiful? Where is this place that is supposed to be land of the free, home of the brave? Life, liberty, justice, and the pursuit of happiness. Where is that for people like us? Can I live where I want to live? Can I get that bank loan? Are my securities in the stock market protected?
Right.
Things they want us to participate. They say we can participate in, but then they don't let us participate in. And then we got to fight to be able to vote. We can't take a knee at a sporting event. We don't own any teams of the teams that we play on, where we are over 80% of the labor force in two of the most major sports in the world.
And see, Brother Frederick, and I think this is, and I know we got to take another quick pause, but this is the context that you just put that in. Where were we in 1923 and 1823, 1723? But now in 2023, we are at a new place, right? Economically, socially, politically, we are in a new place.
Yes.
And I think that it's moments like this moment, like this year or this time, that even though we have all of these challenges, it requires us to take a moment of pause and reflection to say, wait a minute, we are in a different place. So let me shift my thinking to meet the demands of this new place, this new time that we're in. And, as I'm even having a conversation with our previous guest, Sister Trinette, talking about self-love and having conversations about how to improve our relationships, like how do we improve our relationship to the institutions and the systems that we are a part of?
Right.
To rethink, because I'm always just jamming this point at home every time on the show, and I'll call my culture crew, they do the same thing. At this point, we can't wait for someone else to save us. No. Right? When the government is doing its own thing, has its own set of problems, you can't expect the government to try to figure out all of its problems and the problems of its formerly enslaved people.
Right.
And so it's like we do have to chart a new path for ourselves.
Without question. And to add to what you've said so eloquently, think about who we've lost in the past 23 years. The leaders, from, our Colin Powells, to, even some of the greatest, music artists and artists of all time have died, in the first 20 years of this particular century as well. We've had a lot of challenges moving forward.
That's a good point.
New leadership. Barbara Walters and Martin Luther King were the same age. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, did you or did you not grow up with Barbara Walters in your ear? Did you have the opportunity to grow up with Dr. King in your ear? No. He was removed on purpose for a reason. And so many of the leaders that we've needed to be the great nation of people that we are have been ceremoniously removed from us. And so we've constantly been forced to reinvent the wheel. The goalpost is always moving. They keep shuffling the deck on us, So to your point, we need to stop playing their game. And we need to move forward on our own. The technology is there. The windows of opportunity are there. There is a global community that embraces us. The largest continent on the planet is Africa. We're from there. We don't spend enough time connecting to there because some of us have this mentality that they are not African or they do not want to be associated with that, or those people are backwards, which for any reasonable person, we know that is completely not true. And some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life were born and raised in Africa.
Right.
What I'm saying? Like we have all of these systems that we have to break down, and through media, we can do it. And that is our responsibility. So rather than, distract, we need to attract a higher level of thinking and being. And that's what the thrust of the film is. And at the same time, we have a responsibility to humanity to bring others along that do not look like us, that do not worship necessarily in the same ways that we do, because they are our brothers and sisters as well. And we need to get out in front and be leaders in that space instead of being dragged from behind as followers in the Western capitalistic world where we just play sports. We just score touchdowns. We just dunk basketballs, but we can't.
Or we just entertain, Brother Frederick.
Yes, sir.
Or we just entertain. Like let's
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like we just entertain.
Yeah, and they like it. They're cool with it. That's what they want. I mean, I don't know how many people out there, have a lot of relationships with the sort of general culture that's out there. But when you really explore a lot of those relationships, many times they kind of have you around because you make them happy. You're entertaining them. You make them feel good. You make them laugh. You're interesting. Show me that new dance. Play me that new song that you're listening to. Oh my God, I love your clothes. I love your skin color. You look so good out in the sun. How do you, exercise and look so good so quickly or whatever? I mean, they get into a lot of peripheral or superfluous stuff about us.
That's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah.
Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, more discussion with our brother Frederick Taylor as we talk about his screening of Where is America the Beautiful, the film screening that's going to be happening in New York City, in Manhattan in December. We'll give you more information about that and continue the conversation on the other side. Stay with us. We got a few moments left here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, talking to my brother Frederick Taylor, filmmaker, writer, and speaker, talking about his new film that's going to be played in New York City next month. It's called Where is America the Beautiful? Here's a little bit of what that film is about.
Shotgun houses, super-sized churches, eternally faithful spouses I sing.
Where is America the beautiful, the place where they said my dreams would all come true? I don't know if I will ever make it to a where is America the beautiful.
down for the night, under smoky, cloudy stars, all alone, no home in sight.
I see a tombstone of a soldier
Caught under foreign skies, died a hero for freedom, couldn't kneel for his own rights, and I sing.
Where is America the beautiful, the place where they said my dreams would all come true? I don't know if I will ever make it to a where is America beautiful?
Wow. There it is, Brother Frederick Taylor's Where is America the Beautiful? And it's a powerful film. And you know what's interesting, Brother Frederick, that it's you're having this screening, and we're more importantly, we're having this conversation at the start of the holiday season. And you know, I think that it's during these times of year, especially when you have a lot of families, that we can get into some deeper and different conversations about who we are, and with the intention of changing the culture within our own personal families. Because I know that as one who has worked in the social activism space and activism space, it's easy to be that outside of the doors of your home or outside of your family unit. But it's much harder when you're talking about changing the culture, changing the mindset, changing the consciousness or raising the consciousness of those who are closest to you or those who grew up with you and watched you kind of evolve. Can you talk to a little moment about that? And because I think this is the crux of everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing we do. Getting off the plantation. You know, we come from a culture in America where it's like, are we going to stay and be subjected to servitude, or are we going to sneak away and follow the North Star to freedom? Now, some of us said, yeah, I'm with you, you know, and they would risk it all for freedom. And some of them, many of them made it. Some of them didn't, but they tried. Then there were others that said, nah, I'm just going to stay here. This isn't too bad. You know, they only beat us on Tuesday. I'm all right with that. And another one said, I'm going to sit here and pray until a deliverer comes, you know, and they chose that. There are many different doors in life for us to pick and choose. And what we don't seem to understand is that we live in a society, in many instances, those doors are locked for us, or those doors are hidden from us. And some of us are blessed with the door being open. We get the knowledge, we get the levels of understanding, and we can turn and look back into our families and say, hey, I got something. Let's do this together. And unfortunately, in certain instances, some of our people get angry, they get frustrated, they get upset, they kind of tear it down, they make fun of us. They don't give us a motivating factor to stay loyal to the tribe. And then sometimes we'll get mad and we'll wander away and try to go find our place in these other places. And we discover that, hey, it's not there. You know, that's one of the big life lessons that I've had as well. So where I am most loved, most wanted is with my tribe.
Absolutely.
And, now there are isolated instances. There are certain people that I've met in my travels that do love me for me. It's not everybody, but in many instances, those people that are outside of my tribe can only be there to support and to applaud what I do. They can't necessarily lift me up. The people that lift me up are my own people. The people that have come into my life and helped to make me a better person has been that grown up, mature Black man that puts his arm around me and says, hey, I'm here for you. I will listen to you. This is what you might want to think about moving forward. This is what I've experienced. We need that type of interaction. And we don't get enough of it because so many of our men are killed or jailed or not
Right.
given the opportunity for education and things like that. You know, they really
Absolutely.
come at us with the men. And then they occupy us in these things that are just huge distractions, like you have mentioned, like entertainment, you know, and sports is entertainment as well, you know, and we don't have enough encouragement in the sort of cerebral pathways in life. We focus way too much on the physical embodiment of who we are, which is wonderful, and we are blessed in ways that, man, I'm telling you now, I wouldn't trade it for anything. If I had to come back to life again and again and again, every single time, I'm gonna hit the black dude switch. I don't want to be anything but a black dude, and I love it. But at the same time, it comes with a lot of challenge and a lot of responsibility as well. And we need the support of our communities. We need the support of our families, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our cousins, and things like that. You know, we
Absolutely.
can't down the kids in our families that are smart, you know, that do well in school or get an A on their biology, you know, test. And I've noticed for myself, as I've moved from the kid into the middle age part of my family, the new kids that are coming along because of social media and things like that, they really like me. They really respect me. They really admire me. They want to kind of do what I'm doing. They want to be the way that I'm being, that versus when I was their age, that wasn't around. You know, I'd get kicked around a little bit.
Right, no, I get it. I get it,
You know
brother.
what I'm saying? You're just like,
I get it. Hey,
you know,
brother Frederick, I get it.
like all this stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it took them, I think you had mentioned it earlier in your other interview, like, you know, it takes a minute for them to say, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You are
wrong,
right.
man.
You doing something not only for yourself, for us, and for the people. You know?
Hey, look, I'm a creative and I understand it because sometimes people don't understand that when you submit yourself to a cause bigger than yourself, when you see yourself as being a part of something that's bigger than yourself, they laugh at you at first.
Yeah.
But then the greatest vindication is life. Life will kick your ass and humble you.
Yes, it will.
Right? It, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you can't go through life only thinking about yourself. You can't go through life just saying, oh, I'm gonna just get money for me, and I'm not thinking about the my people. I'm not thinking about the connection and the relationship that I have to the ancestors that came before me.
Right.
So, you know, that is very, very real, brother. Very real. I know we got to close it out. Brother Frederick, what's the best way that folks can get all the details about your upcoming screening in New York City?
You could go to the website for Dances with Films, danceswithfilms.com. You can go there. You can also go to my website, which is Tomorrow Pictures, tomorrowpictures.com. And then, of course, the film is Where is America the Beautiful as well. You can Google that. And then you can also Google my fancy name, which is FR3DER1CK. Google that. You'll get everything. And that will keep you up to date on all of the social media and all of the websites and all of the stuff that I have going on. And you can also go to Amazon. And I have a film on there called Counter History's Rock Hill, which is about social unrest in 1961 in Rock Hill, South Carolina, as well. So there are many things circulating out there in the universe that are related to these subjects that you and I enjoy talking about so much.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Yes. And I, once again, you are fantastic. This network is fantastic. And you are doing great things. And you all deserve so much more, including, you know, venture capital and media exposure.
Hey, look, we're gonna get ours in one way or another. You know how that goes,
exactly.
right?
No, and
you're gonna get hey, look. I'm told every day, and I'm truly humbled by this. Every day, somebody is saying, "Look, I appreciate what you're doing." It may not draw the big numbers now, but it resonates in the hearts and the minds and the spirits of the people that tune in. So, you know, that's the impact that we want to make. Real quick, what's your shirt say? Look at that. Jesus was an unarmed. What's that? Is that unarmed?
Unarmed black.
Yeah, unarmed black man.
Right. Which, you know, he was.
Yeah, it is.
He was black. He was unarmed. That's all I'm gonna say.
And he created the greatest revolution in the world.
that we are still fighting today.
That we're still fighting for. Jesus was an unarmed black man. There it is. My brother Frederick Taylor, filmmaker, writer, speaker. Thank you, brother Frederick. And more importantly, thank you for being so good for the culture. We truly love and appreciate you, brother.
Always, my man. Take care. Happy holidays.
Take care. Happy holidays, big brother. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. We're a few minutes over time, but I truly appreciate your patience and just staying tuned in. I thank each and every one of you. I thank all our dynamic guests. Pastor Griffin, I thank you. Sister Trinette Collier, my brother Frederick Taylor, thank you, thank you. I hope that y'all enjoyed the show. This is our last live show for the week because of this Thanksgiving holiday, but gives us some things to think about, some things to talk about, some things to share. And that's always the ultimate goal for us here on The Culture, is to raise the consciousness of those who tune in. And so many of you who are part of the illustrious culture crew, y'all know how we do. Let's have some different conversations. So I hope and pray that you really enjoyed the conversations that we had today, the ones we had yesterday. And as we go into this break, let's think about some different things. Let's do some different things. Let's change the culture within our families and within our own selves to be better. And God willing, we look forward to being back with you next week on Tuesday. We'll be back on for another live show. I got some dope guests coming on because we want to talk a little bit about how the Biden administration is looking to establish a national office for missing Black women and girls. And there's a whole conversation that I want us to have about that on Tuesday. So we're working on that and so much more for next week. But I hope and pray that you enjoy your time with your family and friends. Support Black businesses. If you're planning to go out on Black Friday, support your local Black businesses. Do your part to make sure you throw something in the bucket for those Black entrepreneurs that are doing their part every day to try to change the economic reality of our people. But I truly appreciate y'all. Thank you to my dynamic production team. And of course, to this illustrious network, the Black Star Network. Make sure y'all follow us on all social media platforms. Make sure that you download the app. And more importantly, please put in something in the bucket for us as we are continuing to power through this digital movement. Stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. Eastern Time is Rolling Martin Unfiltered. But always remember this: never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. And God willing, we will see you next week for another exciting live conversation right here on The Culture, exclusively here, only here on the Black Star Network. Have a great holiday weekend, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Peace.